the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
The Honest Edit Podcast. Unpacking the truth about life's messes, one honest conversation at a time. With your host, Scarlett, the no-fluff, get-it-done mindset coach, and Holly, your go-to for all things practical, balancing chaos with compassion.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to The Honest Edit with Holly and Scarlett. And today we have our special guest celebrity, Tess, who is the founder of Charity Road. She's going to explain to us how she's a powerhouse for this great charity and does a ton of nonprofit work. And we all need a Tess in our life. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, both of you. I am honored to be here with these beautiful ladies that make a difference in the world as well. And I appreciate the exposure for our charity.
Yeah, we're very excited. So tell us a little bit about Charity Road, like from a high level, and then we want to talk about you, and then we'll talk more about the charity. So
Okay. Well, Charity Road started because before it was even called Charity Road, I was taking my daughter to work, my youngest, and we were pulling up to the back of the Gaines store where she worked. And it was also the back of a grocery store, Patel Brothers. And these guys were bringing out these huge bins of food. I mean, like massive bins on wheels, pushing them straight for the dumpster. And I looked at my daughter and I said, Julia, that stuff is still good. It is still good. And right when I said that, this one guy reached in, pulled a cucumber out and started eating it on the way to the dumpster. So I said, something has to happen. So what I did was dropped her off and pulled around to the front of the building. And I walked inside Patel Brothers and I talked to a lovely girl working there named Moon, and told her, hey, I'd really like to take the food you're throwing away and give you a tax deductible donation receipt and, keep it from going to waste to meet a lot of people. So she talked to someone and came back to me and gave me the cell phone number for Darshan Patel, who owns all the Patel Brothers stores, and I texted him and said, I got your number from Moon and I would love to pick up your food and give you tax deductible donation receipts. And he said, when can you start? And I said, tomorrow. So I had no idea where I was going to take it. But I had done work with different nonprofits and I thought I'm just going to get it. And in the meantime, overnight, I'm calling some people and found some places where I could take it. They'd welcome the food. Everybody needs food. So we all like to eat every day. So I started picking up. And the first thing I did was give them donation receipts from the nonprofits where I was taking the food. And then I joined forces with Noble Life Outreach. And because they were already doing a lot with food and feeding the homeless. And so we targeted food banks. I was targeting food banks for families and Aaron with Noble Life was targeting the homeless on the street. And we would kind of mix it up with the different food, however, whatever suited places best. For example, some of the homeless transition places actually have these guys making banana bread. So all the bananas we would separate and take to this one place where they can make the banana bread.
we actually bought some banana bread from a gentleman in the parking lot the other day.
Yeah, so that helps support these people transitioning out of homelessness. And most of them are former drug addicts and they go into these places to clean up and to transition and to find a new life. And it's really exciting. So a lot of people are doing a lot of things for hunger and homelessness. And we're just one part of that. But everything worked out to just plug into that. And it's been a huge blessing. And then I was working on the whole time. Aaron's like, you need to set up your own. We'll work together. But I was driving a lot of change and a lot of things. And he's like, I'd really love it if you could set up your own thing as well. We'll still work together, but either split his take over some of the stuff because there were just things I was doing that he wasn't. And he's like, this would be great. So because of the tax laws, we went ahead and joined we have our own nonprofit as Charity Road that we started. And we kind of hang out under Noble Life until we go ahead and file one more form, which we'll be doing to totally separate.
Right.
But the dream with this was to keep going with the food, But I was working on a development with Lone Star Developments, and it's a 210-acre development in Paris, Texas. And we were working on the names for streets, and everybody was getting so excited about their name on a street, right? And it was fabulous. And I'm like, wow, this is great, right? And I had just been at an event before that where some developers were joking about how they go to their wives because they're running out of names, and they would say, okay, this development's going to be flowers. This one's going to be European countries. Just crazy food. They were just, what are we going to name these streets? Mm-hmm. And then I thought, wow, this is an unmonetized asset. Mm-hmm. So what we're doing is working with developers to get the naming rights to streets and auction them off to pay for food. And the developer gets a tax deduction for whatever we sell it for, because that becomes the real value of the property. So the first street we sold was in Paris, Texas. Mm-hmm. We got $5,500. So our generous first developer, Nathan Spalding of Lone Star Developments, gets a $5,500 tax write-off.
That's amazing.
I've talked to quite a few people that have been showing a great deal of interest. Mm-hmm. And one person, I'll leave nameless because he didn't give me permission to use his name, but he has a lot of ties in development. He's fairly well known. And he said, oh, you're lowballing it. Go into corporations, get 20,000 to 100,000. So I'm working on kind of long-term plays to get some developers to agree to give us more and turn it into more money.
What a creative way to do something so good for people that then make it fun, make it interesting. That is so
economically viable.
Yes.
Because that's the part we're literally creating money, because for most developers, most of them are probably paying between 30 and 40% tax. Mm-hmm. So if we can give them say at some point $100,000 in tax deductions, that's giving them $30,000 to $40,000 in their pocket,
right,
for feeding people. That's where we're going.
I think, I don't know, a couple of years ago, you would really see on the news about all the food that was going to waste in grocery stores. And there has been pop-ups of different online groceries that are reusing the food, but finding, I'm sure there's some statistics out there of like how much food goes wasted and a skyrocket. Right?
It's a tremendous amount of food. The estimate is between 30 and 40% of all food goes to waste. That's heartbreaking when you look at the number of people that go to bed hungry. You have 1 in 7 children in our country go to bed hungry every night. 1 in 11 elderly people go to bed hungry every night. And 1 in 11 veterans go to bed hungry every night. And so if you look at those numbers and you think, well, why don't we just take this stuff intercept it before it hits the landfill? That's our goal. Mm-hmm. And transition that into something, put it on tables. And we've been blessed to be able to do that. And part of our food that we've done also, while the program was going, was the Farmers to Family program, which we did previously. And we were able to do a lot of food that, just was surplus food that was otherwise go to waste.
Because a lot in the grocery stores too, there's just kind of these, and kind of these ambiguous laws. Like if there is, a scratch on this apple, or there's too much brown on this banana, we know that like if it sits on our counter, it's fine to eat. But in grocery stores, we have this, I think, societal thing of like, oh, it has to be a perfectly shaped whatever, or perfectly colored or whatever. And that's not the truth.
Right. So what happens is we buy food and we're all lazy. We may be ambitious and we may work all the time, but we all have a lazy element when it comes to our regular maintenance things like cooking and shopping and so forth. So we buy food and hope, hey, I don't want to go to the grocery store too many times this week. So I want to get stuff that's really fresh so it lasts me 3 to 5 days. Mm-hmm. Okay. So when you go to the grocery store, there's food that would still be good. And what we get is food that needs to be used in a day or two, maybe 3.
Which can make a huge impact on someone who hasn't eaten in a couple of days.
Right. And if we take it into these food pantries that literally give it out that day or the next morning. Mm-hmm. So it's going out. People are eating it. Sometimes we'll do homeless shelters. We've done some Salvation Army rehab centers and that kind of thing. And when we take food in there, they cook it. Like I've literally delivered food. They started cutting and cooking right away.
And there's so much produce in there too. And a lot of these unhoused people and homeless people that are they're getting big packets of things. And it's like getting a fresh apple or getting a cucumber that might have a little mush on the end or whatever is probably so wonderful to have something different.
Oh, well, absolutely. And the first time I went to Salvation Army Adult Rehabilitation Center, I went to one of those, and the chef there, well, he's a volunteer cook.
Yeah.
I called him a chef. And so the first time I went there, he said, I've been here for several years, and this is the first fresh produce we have had in years. Like,
Amazing.
the first few weeks he was there, they had a little bit, and then he hadn't seen any since. And so they would take it and immediately integrate it in. And it's because for practical purposes, no fault, people want shelf-ready things. They want things that are non-perishable goods. But non-perishable means preservatives. It means your body also doesn't process it as well. And we want a balance of nutrition. There's nothing wrong with those non-perishable and the grains. And of course, we love to supply meat. That's why we're doing the auction. But for what we pick up, we only pick up produce because meat, we'd have to make a judgment call, and we'd also have to have refrigerated transportation, and we use volunteers.
Right.
So we want it to go in your Toyota or your Ram Charger, whatever you've got. We want it to be able to fit in there and be transported, and it's whatever temperature you're riding it.
Right.
It's just, and it'll make it for the 15 or 20 minute trip and go to the shelter or the food pantry. And that is what makes it all work. And you have the apples and the onions and the potatoes and the oranges and, all of that. So people get a little of this and that and the other. And sometimes you get some really unique things. Sometimes you get mint. We'll end up with aloe. We've had aloe before, which I thought was just fabulous. These people are getting things and they appreciate all of it. Every little bit of it. And so we had one shelter where it was after the 2020, everything. And they'd had to shut down the grocery store and clear out everything. So we had 2 big truckloads of produce from Patel Brothers, and we were able to dock it through Holy Kombucha helped us out with their dock and their areas. So we unloaded onto the dock, separated, and then we had all of these volunteers come and pick up for all these different charities.
Wonderful.
And I got a phone call the next day that was amazing from one of the places. And they said, you're not going to believe this, but that aloe was tremendous because they had some people that had some burns. They had been in a fire and they were the last part, but it really helped literally burn victims. We were able to get them the aloe, which was nice. And then of course, everybody loves the ginger and the mint and the, all the good things that are special treats that come through some of the time. A lot of the time, it's a whole lot of potatoes, a whole lot of onions. These are all wonderful, and the apples, those are the most frequent, is squash. So that's what we get the absolute most of, and everybody loves that. And then we get the other things mixed in, and it's just been a huge blessing for us and for a lot of people.
That's so what does your daughter say about this whole thing that started?
Oh, she's just as proud of it. She doesn't think about it. When I say, well, if I wasn't taking you to work, it wouldn't have happened.
And you guys have made such an impact. And it's funny, you're kind of doing more of the interviewing because I'm on the board of the charity.
Yeah.
Because when she called me, I was like, I'm totally in. So I'm a little bit more quiet than I normally am on this episode. But you have moved so much food and made an impact. Tell the audience and Holly how much food you...
In 8 years, we have done over 100 million pounds of food. And that's in conjunction with Noble Life. That's our whole team effort, which has been fabulous. And it includes the Farmers to Family program, which got us a lot of food in 2020 and 2021.
Very weird time.
The very weird time for all of us where we were literally renting Penskes and U-Hauls to deliver food. We had so much from that. And we still use some people for the small vehicles. But the stuff that really comes from the grocers, we are having people show up in their, Toyotas and Broncos and Jeeps and BMWs and Mercedes and whatever they drive.
Yeah.
Hyundai, Subaru, we don't care. And usually these rounds take people about an hour.
Oh, that's great. So what role has faith, resilience, your intuition, your knowledge of being a business, what has that played in starting this new thing?
Well, I think all of us have gifts and intuition. And sometimes we have moments in our life where it just all comes together. And with that, I intuitively knew that food's still good. And I just rolled with the opportunity. I thought, I know enough people, I know enough places. I've done a lot of work with the homeless. let's go grab some food. Just make it happen. I knew it could fall into place. It could happen because really, I'll quote my dad, which is, if you take a look at your circumstances and all the resources that you have, you'll find you have everything you need to accomplish anything you want.
Say that again.
If you look at all of your assets, all your resources, everything around you, relationships, all of that, you'll find you have everything you need to accomplish anything you want.
It's beautiful.
And so I just rolled with it because I thought, I know enough people. I know, and I knew that the needs are out there. There's a bridge here. Let's just do something. And
so one idea became such a huge impact for so many people. And I feel like there's stuff all over the world, but all over, and even in your community, like making one small change or connecting one person or reaching out and smiling for someone. Yeah. Those little changes can make such a huge difference. And that's what you've done.
Yeah. I think everybody has something they can give back. And this was a circumstance where I'm going to go quote my family again. My late brothers always said, opportunity hawks while it drives by. And so I just saw that and I just went and thought, this is an opportunity to do something. Well, I didn't know how it was going to roll out, but I knew, let's go roll with that. I felt like, if you want to talk about intuition and faith, I just felt like this is something I needed to do. And again, didn't know where it was going to land, but I was going to grab that food, get it out of the landfill. And so that's how this has happened. And we also found that for the grocers that donate, they save about $400 a month per store on dumpster costs.
Oh, wow.
And so it's good for everybody.
Of course it is.
And it's just a blessing, and there are little things. Sometimes the nonprofits get a little food that's a little overdone, and then you throw it away there. But honestly, the grocers don't care if you have time to use their dumpster and go through it. They don't care. They just don't always. They sort a lot of it sometimes, but sometimes they don't have time to sort it.
Right.
So the choice is give it all to you or give none of it to you. So I say, bring it on.
Do you feel like, because I know you own several companies, you started this charity as a founder, do you feel like there was a moment where you're just going, there's too many challenges? Do you feel like there was a moment where, I just can't do this, or you felt a moment of overwhelmed? I'm not going to say quit because it's like not in your vocabulary, but did you just feel like there was just so many challenges that maybe you needed to take a step back, or you have that overwhelm?
Well, I think we all do things and we have moments of being overwhelmed, and then you just have to think that's a growth moment. That's like, what other resources are going to come to us? So when I had this idea to do the roads, and I thought, what other resource surrounds me? How can I consider?
Then I got a phone call.
Then I called Scarlett, and I have to say, taking the next step with everything has really been a blessing to have Scarlett, because she can organize the remains of a tornado. And
she sure can.
And sometimes that's exactly what she's doing. And it works out just fabulously. And so I've been really blessed. We've been blessed to really be able to work together on this and some other things. And the thing that I have found is that people want to do something and they don't always know how. And you have to give them something that works with their life. So taking an hour once a week, once a month to do something, you feel like you're giving back. You're doing something, but it doesn't take over your life. And so many people, they can be overloaded, but they need that feeling of giving back. They need to participate in society. They need to make a difference. They want to. They want to make a difference. We picked up another volunteer yesterday for our event simply because I was talking to a girl about some things. She was asking me some questions, a young lady. She's in her 20s. And she's like, wow, I wish I could do something to make a difference. I'm like, wow. Funny you should ask. And I told her, and she's like, oh, she's so excited about it.
Right.
Because if you can organize and lay out exactly what people need to do, like someone I know has done a fabulous job for our charity. And it is our charity. And we have a couple other board members, and we're probably going to add a few more. We've had such great support. There are some other people that really need to be on the board, and they've expressed an interest, and it'll just help us grow in what we're doing. But really being able to have the organization strength from Scarlett and White Space has been spectacular and made a lot of it possible. I would just be beating my head against the wall. And you say, oh, have you ever felt like you can't keep going? Well, if God and the universe had not supplied me with Scarlett and all of her energies, then, I'd be beating my head against the wall. And I think there was a plan there for things to happen and an opportunity. And this is where we came.
Everyone needs a Scarlett on their team. I can tell you that.
They do. Well, I'm
like one and the same.
I'm still wanting to research cloning.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do need a second me.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I need a second you. Forget cloning myself. I just want to clone Scarlett.
Yeah. It's funny that you were talking about people wanting to do good and to do work in their community, because on an earlier episode we recorded today, we were talking about how to save your energy and how to put that energy out in the world to do good with everything that's going on and all the fires that are right now. And so I love that you just bring it down to even spending an hour on something. There's so many different ways and so many different opportunities for volunteering time or money. And if you don't have the money, you have the time. I think that if that's something that right now you're feeling like, oh, I want to do something that I don't know how to get started, talk to your community, talk to your resources, reach out, be like, I need a fun activity. I need something to do. I need to give back in some way, so you can, you have that control like we talk about in your home and of your own space, but you can also still give, because we all need to band together to give and make these small changes can turn into something that's so impactful for everyone and even generations to come. Because what Charity Road is really doing is it's changing for the generations of these homeless people and these unhoused people that are getting help. And it's helping even the volunteers that you have and the people from these different organizations. So that was such a huge impact.
It's huge. And when you look at what the volunteers are doing, literally one pickup, it'll put the produce on the tables of 500 people.
Wow. I can spend an hour a week to feed 500 people. That's 100%.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys have something big coming up. Mm-hmm. Tell us about this event and how we can get involved, how we can donate our time.
So we have a charity gala coming up, and this is our second annual. It's our biggest fundraiser night. And so it is invite only. It's called The Exclusive. Last year we did very, very, very well. And this year, so many things are in the works. We're very excited about it. It's definitely bigger. It's a bigger production. And we do have a lot of amazing, incredible people involved. And so that's going to take place in May, actually May 14th. And if you want to be a part of that event or join that event, you can just reach out to us, charityroad.org, and we'll put that link in the bottom of this video. And I mean, that just really got started because I wanted a big fun party last year. And then I all of a sudden became an event coordinator every year. So that's how that got started.
You know that thing that they tell people, don't do anything once you don't want to do forever?
Yeah.
Yes, here I am.
This is what's happened with Scarlett. She did it once and she stuck with it forever.
Yes. But it is a lot of fun. You get to doll up and, it's a Casino Royale theme this year. Mm-hmm. There's going to be casino tables. So we've got craps, roulette, blackjack. It's going to be a silent and a live auction. Mm-hmm. Very unique items. I almost want to sneak over to the table and put in some bids on some things that I might have just picked out. Yeah. So my husband might need to hold on my credit card that night.
Yeah.
I feel you on that. I mean, I'm thinking like I get my own name, right? Like a street name after me if I can pay enough. Yeah. Well, tell us one piece of advice that you'd love to give people that want to get involved, that they just feel like it's too big for them.
Well, do I have to limit it to one?
No. Okay.
So the first thing is reach out to us and see if we have a place to place you to do something. Mm-hmm. And then look around. If you take a look around, there'll be something where you can make a difference. There are food pantries, there are soup kitchens. I'm passionate about feeding people. Maybe you're passionate about something else. Mm-hmm. But volunteers are needed everywhere. And most places you can volunteer for 1 or 2 hours a month or once in a while. You don't have to make a life-changing commitment. A lot of times people feel like, oh my gosh, if I go do that, I'm going to end up running things. And if it's your personality, maybe you will end up running things. There's the warning, read the warning on the label that it can be there. But if you just want to do something, and sometimes it's something different, and it's really good to clear your mind. I run a commercial real estate company. We have some other ventures in some other areas. Outside of that, I'm a partner in a medical facility. We have a lot of things going on, but going out and doing things for other people and to make sure people eat, it just brings everything down to humanity. And you just can say, anything else, nothing else is that important, and it gives you a few minutes to clear your mind, because it's been shown, and I come from, I have an educational background, but it's been shown that if you're in stuff and you have all the stress, if you can divert and just do something completely unrelated that has no stress, even for an hour, it can reset your mind, you can reset your focus, and you become more productive. So I believe if you give a little back, you'll feel better. It'll lower your stress. You'll feel more productive. And whatever you have going on will seem so much smaller when you realize, hey, I just fed 500 people, and there are far more than 500 people out there that need food.
And you did mention that your passion is feeding people, and that sort of goes with your background.
Yes.
So maybe you can share just a little bit about what that means and, how you grew up and how that kind of got you started in your passion with food.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I really came from, on my mom's side of the family, a bunch of farmers. So there was always food, and very hospitable. When you go to visit any relative, you're loaded with food. But then you begin to realize as you get a little older that not everybody has food. So one of the first things, I first started volunteering in junior high. Craziness, that I did. But that was with seniors, and I started feeding. I literally some of these people can't feed themselves. So it wasn't a lack of food. They just couldn't get it to their mouth. So one of my first volunteering things, and I was like 12 or 13, I was literally in a nursing home feeding people. I could walk there from my house. So after school, I would go and I'd feed people dinner a couple days a week. It was nice. They talked to you and so forth, but they had a hard time because of their illness and so forth. But I was always aware. And then I became more and more aware of people just not having food. And that is just horrible. And, you grow up with your mom saying, oh, the starving people. But then you get a little older and you realize that's not a myth. There really are starving people. And so everywhere. And so I just got more involved a little bit in high school. I did some other volunteer work in high school, but a little bit in college. And again, was focused on a few other volunteer projects. But even then, when I was in college, some of it, I worked with some institutionalized youth, but some of it was even teaching them things about, cooking, general care, and that kind of thing. And then moved on, and I just kept finding opportunities to help feed people, to volunteer, to do some things with homelessness. And with that, I've done some things raising money for sleeping bag coats and got those, and done some projects like that to keep people warm. That I would always come back around to the food. I was widowed and raised 4 kids, and I was so thankful to be able to feed my kids. And I would run into mothers who had those struggles where they just couldn't. They were really, and I thought many times, once you have a child, your perspective changes as well. It just gets completely deeper when you realize there are people that struggle to feed their kids. Something, so more and more again. So it's just evolved, but there's something in me, whether it's genetic because I came from farmers, or not. But I think there's enough food out there. We should try to make sure everybody eats.
Absolutely.
And if we can all do our part. But again, there are people doing other things that are very valuable. Housing the homeless, education, helping animals. There are so many ways to volunteer and give back. And I think whatever is your drive, you should contribute to it in some way. If you're sitting around your house thinking, I really love animals and I hate that these things happen to animals, Doesn't mean you have, but I can't take in 20 million dogs. It doesn't mean you have to take in 20 million dogs. Maybe you take your time 1 hour a month or 2 hours a month or whatever and go to a volunteer at a dog shelter. I promise you there's one somewhere that needs help.
There's work to be done.
There's work to be done everywhere, but find your passion and you'll find fulfillment and you'll know you're making a difference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's funny you say that. I did some volunteer work with the North Texas SPCA, and they took us to the back because we were going to, play with the dogs and clean the kennels and everything. And I got back there with all the puppies and I just started bawling because I could not, I had an overwhelm of emotions. I was like, I had to walk away. And I went and sat down in the office and I was like, look, I want to be with all the puppies, but I'm just going to cry and I can't function. Is there something else that I could do? And I ended up organizing their donations closet and they were just blown away with what I could do. I was like, you put me in a closet, I can do that. But if you put me around a bunch of puppies that need homes, I'm going to struggle with that. So yeah, there's always work that needs to be done. But it made me feel so good because I was like, okay, I'm able to help in this place. It looks different than what I thought. But I organized that closet. It was beautiful afterwards. I get to wave to the puppies as I left and it was good to go. So
exactly.
Yeah, there's always help that needs to be I want to say I'm so proud of both of you for all the work that you've done, but I also feel so honored that you have spent our time, and even you, I know you're a co-host of this, but this is a big deal. And so thank you from another mom in the world today that feels for all the people, for you guys doing what you're doing. And yes, I have tears in my eyes, but thank you. And tell us again how everyone can get in touch.
So charityroad.org, and we'll put that link in the description as well. And
it seems like if you're just sitting around and you're like, I have some extra time on my hands, give Scarlett a call because I bet she'll have a task for you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for May 14th, if you want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that concludes our episode for today. Yeah. And stay tuned for our next episode. Tess, thank you so much for joining us. So I'm honored that she called me. But yeah, get in touch with us. I can tell you how you can help. And stay tuned for our next episode.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good night. Thank you.
Bye.
Have our day.
The Honest Edit Podcast. Unpacking the truth about life's messes, one honest conversation at a time. With your host, Scarlett, the no fluff, get it done mindset coach, and Holly, your go-to for all things practical, balancing chaos with compassion.